and I'm using my selfie stick.
Hey, Manny, I see you're down in a convention hall. Where are you?
I just happen to be in Orlando, of all places.
Wow.
You know, Ben and I came because we're speaking at the InfoComm conference, actually tomorrow. So we go on at 11 o'clock. So I think what's interesting is there's actually a lot more people than we thought would be here.
Uh-huh.
I'll spin around so you can see, but we're in the middle of the hall right now. Right behind me is the collaboration and video side of things. And then I'm going to pan us around.
Okay.
You can see behind me here. But it's basically a long corridor. So I'd say compared to previous shows, we're looking at probably 30% of what it used to be. But it's still pretty well attended. I mean, I think you can see here it's busy.
Yeah.
It's about noon here. Yesterday was busier. And so I'm a little worried that Ben and I are going to be talking to an empty show tomorrow morning because I don't know how long people are sticking around.
Oh, that's okay. When I checked the Twitter feed for the talk that I did this morning, they were giving away Starbucks gift certificates or gift cards to bribe people to come in, but that's because it was me.
Yeah, well, we saw you. We were there. We saw you in attendance. We were like, hey, look. So it's pretty big.
So, yeah, I mean, it looks like a regular InfoComm if you kind of set aside that some of the booths are just big ass meeting rooms.
Right.
What have you seen that in the context of the kind of work that we collectively do that intrigued you?
Well, I think overall, the digital signage pavilion was tiny. Like it's literally maybe 6 booths. I mean, it definitely is like way early days of what Global Shop used to be like when digital signage first came out.
Yeah.
Definitely, you can see there's a tiny LG booth. So the big guys are here, but they're tiny booths except for Samsung. They have like a giant booth, but you can't see in it, of course, because you have to have a special invite to go inside. I think we haven't seen anything specifically new for digital signage, have we?
No. Everything with digital signage is about the collaboration, interactive screens, and all that.
Yep. I think we saw some unique ways that the technology is evolving when it comes to these cameras that are used for collaboration rooms and training and education that are, I'd say, 360 views. They are easy to use. I think they're designed for people to have no technical skill at all to use them.
Yeah.
Collaboration and remote learning is big here. The hybrid room is a big story here. But nothing new except for there's one VR. There's a VR thing we saw, which is basically, yeah. So it was a VR experience. You would put it on, and then you would design a conference room while you were in it using a VR. But it was designing an AV room for a conference room, so it was kind of meta. That's very meta.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think the premise was maybe you wanted to give people a feel of what the room would be like once you completed it. But again, it was just maybe it was VR for VR's sake. I think that's what we would see. There are some interesting virtual production studios that are here today. Yep. Micro LED, as Ben said, they use them and they create virtual sets using an Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
And it actually is pretty nifty and clever how they're doing it. And it actually, I think, probably the most innovative thing we've seen here, where they're blending a lot of I wouldn't say it's an experiential piece. Nope. But it is definitely, like, for the viewer, it would seem like you're looking at somebody in a space and they're physically there, but they're not. So it's probably that kind of approach that they're looking at. And I think from a production perspective, from flexibility, that's the benefit, is you can do all sorts of different sets. You don't need to have pre-production done. Everything can be done on the fly. So that's probably the most innovative thing we've seen here.
Do you get a sense?
Yeah.
You go to a lot of trade shows, all kinds of different trade shows, and for very obvious reasons, out of necessity, in most cases, a lot of the vendors have changed up how they're doing things. Do you get a sense that it works, or is it a temporary measure out of necessity?
I think this is a temporary situation. It's a lot like everything else. Everything has been scaled down on purpose. Maybe because there's not a lot of participation from the exhibitors this year. But I think overall, just like when you did your conference, your session, your panel, people are attending virtually, and I think that's not going to go away.
Yeah.
I think what we've seen is it's a different way of doing a conference, and the days of giant booths may be hard to come by, just because what's the value you're getting? I mean, there's still a lot of people here. I mean, you can see behind me, and people, if I flip the camera around, there's a bunch of people coming this way, and people want that physical networking thing. I mean, we met some friends we haven't seen in a while. We went to an event last night that was like 150 people. So like the networking piece, I think, is something that's hard to replicate in the virtual space, but the sessions, the booths, the way people are presenting, I think it's all different now. And it's basically going to be, as a manufacturer or as an exhibitor, they're going to have to change the way they price things, it feels like. Those days are gone, yeah.
What's the vibe you get from people you're speaking with? Are they happy that they've come, and are they happy with what they're seeing, or are they just happy that they got out of their spare room or their bedroom and are seeing real people again?
Well, it is Florida, so there's a lot of people out here that aren't even wearing masks anymore. Like for them, it's just day to day. I think we've seen a lot of people that are happy to see other people, and it feels like you're coming back to some sort of normality. If given the opportunity, I wish we would have known how many people would be attending for our session, because it's the last day. It seems like people are going to be drifting out later on in the day. Maybe tomorrow, not a lot of people will be here, but when you commit to speaking at these events, you have to do it months ahead, and so you can't really pull yourself out. But it definitely makes me worry about what the session is going to be like, and then we say, is it worth it that we came? I think it was, because there's the other part, is our flights were cheap. I mean, it was $200 maybe.
Wow.
The hotels are cheap. So if you think about it, going to a conference now is a lot cheaper because of the travel costs. And I'd say also maybe the type of people that you run into are more senior, because they're the ones that are allowed to go. So you have a different type of attendee that has more decision-making power. You could send more people because it's cheaper. So there are upsides to these conferences in this kind of situation.
And do you see, there's been all kinds of talk in recent years about how AV and IT and digital signage, if you want to split those out, are all kind of converging. Is there more tangible evidence of that there?
Yes. Basically he's saying, do we see convergence of all the IT, AV, and digital signage?
Yes. So that's what a lot of the booths are. It's kind of like they're covering all of those aspects. So you go in and it's the high-speed networking that you need to be able to do the video over IP in real time, all of those things that the companies are kind of like all-in-one solutions to do that, all from the networking gear all the way to servers, all the way to the solution that's in there, that it could be like for remote education, or digital signage somebody, or for in-office collaboration and meeting space.
Yeah, I don't think there needs to be a separate conference anymore just for digital signage, honestly. It's all blending together, it's converting, as Ben said, and it has to, considering all the complexities of now, if you're going to be building these new types of experiences that are hybrid, you need all of these parts together. You can't think in a silo anymore, in my mind.
Mm-hmm. And when you go to a trade show, does it enable you in a way that you just can't do virtually or like through webinars and things like that to, when it comes to things like display technology in particular and physical hardware, that it's one thing to demo software. You can do that pretty effectively online, because even if you go to a trade show, somebody's showing you a laptop screen and this is how it works. But with LED displays and all that stuff, you really need to be there, right?
Yeah, he's saying, do you need to be here? I have to translate because Ben can't hear you. I can only hear you. Yes, you're talking into my headset.
Yeah, and I can't hear him real well.
Right. All right.
Going
Good.
to be here?
The guy
I've sat through virtual conferences, and I didn't learn as much as when I was physically at conferences.
Yeah.
So maybe in the sessions, it's something that's different, that it can be virtual if you're there to like learn specific things. But when it comes to like hardware and actually experiencing some of these things, when we did this for CES and we went through all of them, I couldn't tell what was real and what was fake. It's like I couldn't tell really what was marketing speak and what could I
That's right.
piece together for something. We just walked through a couple of different booths. I won't mention the names of them, and I was like, no, it's just a bunch of smoke and mirrors. There's nothing that's unique that's happening here. But I wouldn't have known that unless I actually went inside. So there is, I don't think that the virtual stuff is going away. I don't think that the physical stuff is going away. It's going to be like, how do you have the different packages for what you need? So for some conferences, it might be like, hey, I don't need to be there, but I want to share in the content. And so then I won't. But that's great for conference settings, because that's what it is. It gives an opportunity for someone that wouldn't go in the first place to actually be there and be present in some kind of way.
Right. I think there's a level of discovery that you do that you can't replicate online yet. And you know, as much as everyone's trying to replicate the conference experience, I think everything falls short. Networking for sure. We've had the speed dating on Zoom and things like that, which is horrible. But going up to people and talking to them and then asking them specifics and looking behind the curtain, you got to be able to do that to understand if the technology, as Ben said, is real. And I don't know how to replicate that besides being there. Like you can see, I mean, you've been there where you can see like what they're really doing. Is it canned? Is it a real feed? Is that what's happening? And that's part of what we do. And I think ultimately, you know, we come to meet people, see what's happening, and the community here, everyone's excited to be here, but I think they're also experiencing virtual conference burnout, which I'm sure you have too.
Oh yeah.
And they could have done a better job in general of blending the people that were on virtual panels with the people that are here. I mean, they basically used Zoom on a big screen, which is horrible. If it wasn't you, we wouldn't have stuck around. Yeah, we really wouldn't have stuck around unless it was you. So, because we knew everybody on the panel, like, oh, let's stick around. But otherwise, you know, that's something you can just do on your desk. So until they can do things like bring them together in a more human way, I think that's going to be what's got to happen to make these worthwhile.
Okay.
I mean, wearing masks all day really sucks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I go into a grocery store and I'm in and out in 15 minutes and I'm looking at the people working there and they're wearing these things for 8-9 hours a day. And I'm thinking, well, that would not be fun.
Yeah. And I'd say maybe 80-90% of the people here are wearing them. I mean, you know, maybe if you're from Florida, you don't care, but people that came here from out of town and stuff are adhering to the mask stuff that we see.
Right.
So, yeah. And it's a lot less crowded in Orlando this time of year. Like you can get into restaurants anytime. It's a much different time.
All right. Couple more things. First of all, for those who don't know Ben and Manny, who are you and what do you do? And second, let me know when the thing is tomorrow, or let the viewers know when the thing is tomorrow that you're doing.
Oh, okay. So, we are a part of Q Division, which is the Strata Cash Professional Services Consulting Group. So we work with their clients, and we also have external clients as well, specifically helping people figure out the right technology for the right job. And we also help with implementation. And you know, it works really well when we're a Strata Cash company because anything we do is tied into the back end of Strata Cash, supporting services and things like that. our conference, our session tomorrow is called "The Future of Hybrid." No, what is it called? The future of
Physical and digital.
yeah, the future of physical and digital experiences. So it's a forward-looking look, but anchored in. It's much like what you said today in your session. It's like there's a lot of these buzzwords flying around. Is it really meaningful? Is it really relevant? We're trying to cut through the clutter and explain what's really real and what you can do now versus like 10 years from now.
Right.
We're all in
Okay.
the metaverse.
Yeah, the metaverse is a big thing.
Yeah, I'm too old to try to wrap my brain around that one. And I don't see me going to the metaverse. So, oh well. All right. Thank you guys for spending a few minutes with me. I appreciate you taking the time on the floor, and enjoy the rest of today, and say hi to the 3 people who come and watch you tomorrow.
Okay, will do. Thanks a lot for having us. See you later.
All right. Take
Bye-bye.
care.